practically extinct at this point, right? So games weren't as quote unquote tough, to make because you're not too concerned about photorealism on a 240p screen, right? So,
Right.
uh, but still, I mean, to get an 80 plus hour RPG filled with content, filled with replayability on top of that, and to be revered as one of the best RPGs on the entire 3DS library, says something. So again, I don't know what it is, because you certainly can't blame it on the Switch hardware. You certainly can't blame it on the time allotment, but then you can't blame it on the manpower too, because you look at teams of 10 to 15 that have accomplished so much more, and then look at, the bright examples, obviously. I mean, they're not always going to be like this, but, the single developer team, stuff like Axiom Verge, Stardew Valley,
Yeah.
Undertale,
Yeah.
stuff like that, they all made by one person,
Mm-hmm.
so, again, what's your excuse? You know? So I don't know. Again, it can be any number of things. I don't know. I'm sure the pandemic had something to do with it as well. I'm sure maybe that played a factor.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I don't know. Just makes you wonder. It could be any number of things. So I don't
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. But I was surprised I bought it anyway. Before I started reading all the oh, now it's got this, and now there's this problem and that problem. It's like, well, I'll set it on the shelf. They'll patch it eventually. They always do. So, I mean, that's the world we live in now. It's
know.
not a,
Yeah.
we could ship it broken. We'll eventually patch it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? There's not as much pressure now because it's just like, because before it was like, once it's out, it's out. That's it. You can't touch it
Yeah, I
anymore
mean,
unless you
back in
come out
the
with
back in the
some.
days, when it was on NES, Super NES, Genesis, stuff like that, they would bring out revisions of cartridges with stuff. But you would, if you'd already bought the game, it wasn't like you were going to go buy another copy because
Yeah.
Right.
But most of the
Right.
stuff like back then wasn't didn't have game breaking stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird, but oh well. I haven't downloaded this new patch, so we'll see how that goes. But go ahead, Dennis, and talk about what else you've been playing besides Pokemon.
Sure, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean that was the big one. I mean the rest
Yeah.
I'll go through pretty quick because they're shorter games, but yeah, Pokemon Scarlet Violet, that was the big one. But again, we say all this, but I am at the end of the day having a great time with it, and this is a step in the right direction. And but again, I still stand by the fact that I just want a different team, man, because
Yeah.
we've seen what's capable when someone else is touching the property, right? You look at the Pokken tournament, Bandai Namco did that. The team that did Tekken, hence why it's called Pokken, right? Did Pokken Tournament. And that game was awesome graphically too. The game looks great, plays great, runs great. Oh my god, it's fantastic.
It's because they're. This is gonna sound not nice, but they're a huge AAA developer. Not the Game Freak isn't a bad developer, but you're like you said before, it's time for someone else to try it, right?
Yeah, just I mean, because there's so much you can do. There's so much that you can. I feel like the games aren't as they don't experiment as much like they used to. Because look at the DS, for example. Oh my god. I mean, the treasure trove of Pokemon games there, not including Pokemon Dash, but that was a unique game still. Uh, but there was.
There's another one too that was pretty unique on the DS too, right? Like, was there another game kind of like Dash? I want to say.
Well, there was Sonic Dash, which was pretty much the same thing. I don't know if that's what you're thinking of, uh, but I can't remember if there was like another Pokemon Dash per se. I don't think unless they made a sequel. It's possible. It's certainly possible. But back in like the Wii and DS days, man, I mean like Pokemon Dash, Poke Park, right? Pikachu's Adventure, right? You had a Pokemon Ranger, which those are my favorite.
Yeah,
Pokemon
and the
Ranger was
mystery
brilliant.
dungeon games.
The mystery dungeon ones, right?
Oh,
And
what
then
about Pokemon Conquest?
I was gonna say Pokemon Conquest as well, which was basically Fire Emblem the Pokemon,
Right.
right? And it was awesome, and yeah,
What
there
are
was so much experimentation back then. Pokemon Coliseum, Pokemon, yeah, stuff like that.
what are the Pokepark games like? I've never played those. Are those kind of like Pokemon Snap sort of thing, or just like you hang
They're
out with
goofy,
Pikachu
like
in an amusement park and
yeah,
throwing him
like
food?
do you
Catch
remember?
this.
Yeah, like if you guys remember Hey You Pikachu, just think of that
Oh
except
no,
not
that game.
broken
Oh
and pointless.
boy.
Hold on. It's not broken and pointless. This is the thing. Like, because those games did not work. And I knew something was wrong because, they always advertised it as like, you talk to Pikachu about anything. And I remember renting it. It was the only time I ever rented
Uh-huh.
it from Blockbuster. I rented it from Blockbuster. And one of the first things I asked Pikachu, I only played about 2 hours.
It was
But one of
something
the first things
inappropriate, wasn't it?
no, 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 no. It was as far as I'm concerned, a very valid question. I and because I've always been a fan ever since I was little, and as far as I'm concerned, the question still holds today. So if they make a Hey You Pikachu 2, I'm still gonna ask this question. The question was, Hey Pikachu, do you like Taco Bell?
Mm.
That was it. That's all I asked. And Pikachu didn't say anything, so I asked one more time. I was like, Hey Pikachu, do you like Taco Bell? And he just kind of stood there, and I was like, oh, let me rephrase the question. Hey Pikachu, do you want to go to Taco Bell, or do you like burritos and tacos and stuff like that? Pikachu is still just dead-eyed. Just I don't I don't know what's going on. So, but anyways, that mic didn't work like 90% of the time. Anyways, man, that
Oh
that game
yeah.
was pointless. That game was stupid. I mean, you
Yeah.
couldn't. What a pointless game. But yeah, I mean, I think about that game from time to time because I never got an answer. So I just I still wonder.
Yeah.
But
I mean, all they need to do is just have a Pokemon virtual assistant app for a phone. There you go.
Yeah.
this is true. Yeah.
Charge $15 for it and watch them make
Then you
money.
can be like, "Hey
Oh my God.
Pikachu, order me some Taco Bell." There you
That's
go.
right. That's right.
Be funny if you had a snarky response.
Well, there you go, right? Instead of using DoorDash, that's when you go back to Pokemon Dash, and then that's how you get it delivered. But yeah, no, I mean they used to experiment so much back then, and you don't really see that anymore. And now it's just like y'all need to just be more free with the prop. Like, what are you worried about? Like, just have someone supervise if you feel like if you don't trust someone, like if it's that
Yeah.
precious to you, like just have someone supervise. Just have Junichi Masuda just be overlook. Okay, all right, yeah, no, good. Just make sure Pikachu's in it. Yeah, no, we're good because we got to sell it somehow. So
Then we get GTA with a Pikachu in it.
yeah,
Just
Yeah.
literally GTA, but then a Pikachu skin.
yeah. Pallet Down City Stories, something like that. Viridian City Stories. So
Pikachu's carjacking, Oh boy. I'm in.
all
Get
the
on that
gym
rock
leaders are
star,
just
you can
gang
do it.
members and stuff.
Come on.
But yeah, I don't know. I miss when there was more experimentation to it because even the Pokemon Snap that came out on Switch was beautiful, and you look at Pokemon Cafe, which is beautifully illustrated also, and then Pokemon Unite again, a very pretty game, and what they all have in common, not developed by Game Freak. That's what they all have in common.
Mhm.
So
What if we get a Pokemon Mortal Kombat game? It's just like
if they
Mortal
took,
Kombat, but with Pokemon and lots of blood.
yeah,
Lots of blood.
Yeah.
they call it Mortal. Mortal. I don't know.
Poke Combat with a K. Come
Poke
on.
Combat. Yeah.
You don't have to think that hard about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a great title. It just has to be stupid.
Yeah. It just has to be
And-
stupid. Exactly.
And fun.
Well, yeah.
Mortal
That's what you
Kombat
want.
Mon. But yeah. But anyways, I know we're going like getting too sidetracked here. But yeah. So I've been kind of in a puzzle mood lately. So one of the games I played and actually reviewed for the site was the entry piece. Oh no, sorry, the first one. Let me do the first one first. Was Hourglass, and Hourglass is a very pretty game. It's got a very pretty aesthetic to it that is very vibrant. A lot of the colors are oversaturated, but it uses it to its advantage, and yeah, it almost has this sort of duality to it where you start the game off in this sort of Egyptian looking um, area, but then these pyramids that you go into end up being this sort of uh, this portal or this sort of wormhole into another dimension that is usually up in the sky and beautiful, very luscious and filled with greenery and stuff like that. And yeah, but the big gimmick for this, and hence why it's called Hourglass, is it has a sort of time reversal mechanic to it. And so let's just say, you have a platform that you need to bring from one side to another, and you need to step on a platform in order to get, or I'm sorry, you need to step on a switch to get the platform to move. Now, but you need to be on that platform to get to the other side, right? So how are you going to do that if you have to step on the platform? So what you can do is basically you would instead, again, just as an example, you stand on the platform, and then you can sort of put out a image of yourself and go and step on that switch while the platform goes to where you need to go, basically. And it's weird at first. It sort of breaks your brain a little bit because you sort of have to think in reverse. So maybe the example that I used wasn't the best because that's more everything is very fluid in the step-by-step process of that. But even though it could still technically work, but yeah, you almost have to think in reverse a lot of the time, where it's just okay, how am I supposed to get instead of thinking A to Z, you got to think Z to A, So, and it can be not confusing, but it can be slightly challenging. But overall, it's very rewarding, and nothing ever feels like it's cheap or stupid. Every time even if I've spent a while, and for that game, a while is probably, I mean, not more than 15 minutes. So, on a puzzle. So I haven't been too stumped. I haven't had to look anything up just yet. So, but yeah, I mean the game it's a short game, maybe 3 hours. I mean I beat it. It was fine. It was good.
Three
It was
hours,
good.
not bad.
That's not
Like,
bad.
That's
Not
like
at
the
all.
perfect little sample. You play it
Mhm.
3
Yeah.
to 5 hours. It's good to go. You feel accomplished.
Like for a
Yeah.
puzzle game, puzzle
Feel-
games can easily go if they go too long. You're just like,
Yeah,
these
you
I'm
get
just
Yeah.
My
tired of
brain.
them.
these are just like the same thing over and over because you couldn't think of any more puzzles, or you just
Right.
got way too crazy with it, or something. So yeah, puzzle
Right.
games if they're 3 hours or something, that's pretty good length.
Yeah. No, I mean it's perfect, guys. It's a nice like perfect palate cleanser too, and it's it's especially when you need something to scratch that itch, man, it hits the spot. And Hourglass definitely did that. Now I will say, I mean I got a good deal on it. I only got it for like a couple bucks when it was on sale, and it goes on sale pretty frequently from what I've seen. But the game is normally $20. I would not spend 20 bucks on that. Do not spend 20 bucks on it. Not to say it's not worth the 20 bucks because I mean it is a polished game. It is a good game. But I do feel like I don't know. I personally I feel like that asking price is a little too much because even though it's a good game, um $20 of value, I personally don't feel like I would get out of it. But again, I'm content. I was more than happy with the couple dollars I spent on it, and yeah, it was a nice, short, quick game. So if you need a you know nice little puzzle game to scratch that itch, Hourglass is the way to go. Highly
Yeah.
recommend that. Yeah. But yeah, speaking of puzzle games, especially ones that are very long, actually, like Nathaniel mentioned, that can overstay their welcome, is the Entropy Center. We did a review on that one, and it is up on the site now. Overall, very good game. I mean, I think I gave it like a 4 or 4.5 out of 5. So
I've been wanting to play this one.
yeah, it's great, man. It's basically Portal 3. Let me just like summation, it's Portal 3. And it's awesome.
Or if you count all the fan made levels, it's like Portal 20.
That's true
Because
too.
there
Yeah,
are so many fan made levels and
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
for Portal 2 at this point.
that
Oh,
is
speaking
true.
of
Yeah.
Portal, Portal RTX is out in like a little less than a week.
Mm.
Have to
So
try
that
that
yeah,
out.
yeah, I got the
What is
driver update for that.
this
So
thing? It's not too
It's a free update or whatever for Portal that like puts ray tracing in it.
yeah,
Ooh.
it looks beautiful, man. That game
Time
looks
to
like
take
brand new almost.
advantage of some
Just
crap.
all they did was ray tracing. It's crazy.
Cool.
Um, but uh, but yeah, no, Entropy Center was fantastic. The humor's great. The puzzles are really well designed. They're really clever. And the story, even you kind of have to uncover it a little bit because there's all these like little computers spread throughout the facility that you're kind of running through, and you do have to like interact with it. You don't have to, but you do have to interact with those computers to and then you read their emails and you can kind of tell what's going on via the conversations that are being had. But otherwise, the little AI, I think her name is Astra, and the main character, I forgot her name unfortunately, but um, the banter that they have with each other is great, and Yeah, I mean the level design is really well done. The graphics are fantastic. I think the game has ray tracing, man, because I'll look at sometimes I'll just stop and look around and be like, man, the lighting and the shading in this game is incredible. So I feel like there's ray tracing, like because the reflections look too good, and like I mean the
You can have
shadows are
really
like
nice reflections that aren't ray tracing.
yeah,
You just have to
yeah,
test it to break it to be like, okay, are these the old school fake reflections or are these ray traced ones that see stuff that's off screen? That's the
yeah,
easiest way to tell.
yeah. I mean if
But
it's
even
baked,
then,
it's
there's like plenty of games that fake stuff that's off screen by using reflection maps and other things and combining techniques to make it look really nice. So who knows?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I was really really impressed. So even if there's not, I mean, it's fantastic. And playing on both, Series X and Series S, the game looks and runs great on both. I mean, the Series S, I mean, looks just as sharp as the Series X does, and it's pretty incredible what that little thing is capable of, man.
Wait, did you
It
get a
really
Series
is.
X?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no, we
Now,
got one like
hey,
last
n-
year. Yeah, yeah,
now when we play
yeah. I
Gears of
thought I
War
told you.
3, that'll
Hmm.
be great. We won't be
Last
waiting
I
on
heard, it was
Dennis.
just a Series S. That was last night. That was all.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah,
realize you
no.
got one that long ago. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's been sitting there. Well, maybe not a year ago, but definitely at least it's felt like a year. I want to say, give or take.
Oh,
Maybe in the beginning of the year. Probably the beginning of the year.
okay.
I want to say.
I don't ever remember
Um,
you mentioning it. So.
yeah, I could have swore I sent a photo too. I could have swore.
Hmm.
I don't know. It was so long ago, though. I don't know. I mean, I've completely forgotten.
Well, anyway, go ahead. I
But yeah,
broke your. I was caught off guard.
yeah,
So.
no, that's okay. Uh, but yeah, no, it's impressive what that thing is, what that little thing is capable of, man. I think. But yeah, it's impressive. But anyways, but the entry center is really really good. But I will say it does overstay its welcome. At times, even though the pacing's really good, it does get to a point where it's like, look, man, we can probably wrap this up now.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like because it's like Nathaniel was saying, where it's like you do start seeing the repeat in the puzzles and the sort of cleverness and the unique value that the game initially gave you. It starts to lose its.
To
It
lose
starts
the
to lose
luster.
its. Yeah, basically, exactly. Yeah. So it's just but yeah, but overall it's very good. It's worth getting absolutely. I think that game's $25 and it's absolutely worth $25. And but yeah, go on thegamerslounge.com and read the full review for a more in-depth look at it. But yeah, overall great game, and if you're looking for a nice uh puzzle game that's fairly big budget that will definitely scratch that Portal itch, oh man, look no further than the Entry Center. That should be your go-to game. That should be you know your star of the show basically
Hmm.
at the moment. So yeah.
Cool.
Uh, but yeah, and then lastly, and I just submitted the review for this today actually, so hopefully it goes up in the next couple of days. But I just got a review code for this the other day. And it's a little game called Eden Gate, The Edge of Life. The game just came out maybe 4 or 5 days ago, and it's a very low budget game. But I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just the game is $7 normally, but it doesn't look it. Like if you look at it, the graphics are not too bad, and the voice acting wasn't too bad, and the environments are really really well done. But the gameplay is where it sort of suffers a little bit because it when you look at it, it almost looks like it's sort of like a horror game, but it's not like at all. It very much it's like a glorified walking simulator basically. I mean, you're basically just going straight the whole time, and but the environments are really really well done. You interact with a couple of these memories, and they usually show up um, on the screen as like these objects that are they're glowing. They have this sort of fog surrounding them, the smoke coming out of them, and then you interact with them, and they sort of give you memories of how you ended up there because you wake up with no memories and you have no idea what's going on. There's no one around you. Everything's messed up, right? Everything looks dilapidated and just like an earthquake happened or something, and almost post-apocalyptic, really. Um, but yeah, by interacting with these memories, you sort of get more insight as to what exactly is going on, more of the story of the main character. Her name is Mia, that you play as, and and then there's a couple of chapters. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 chapters in the game, but I was surprised when I found out there were chapters because there's no loading screens and there's no indication that it switches chapters. The only reason why I found out there were chapters was because achievements would pop up and be like, "Hey, you found this item in chapter 1. You found this item in chapter 2." And I'm just like, "I didn't realize we switched chapters. I didn't realize. I thought this just seemed like a seamless one-shot game, but apparently there's chapters in it, which is again weird because the game is short. Anyways, the game was like an hour and a half, no more than 2 hours, and you can 100% that game in one go also. So, but that's if you interact with everything. Otherwise, you can honestly just run through that game because you don't really need to interact with any of the memories. You don't have to get any collectibles. There's only maybe 2 or 3 instances where you absolutely have to do what they want you to do because they're sort of quote unquote puzzles. But they were super easy. I mean, if you don't figure them out within 2 minutes, I mean, you seek some help. But
That's your own fault.
yeah, but there were just these passcodes. There's like these pin pads basically, and you just have to figure out the passcode for these pin pads. And there's only maybe 2 or 3 instances of that. Otherwise, you're not getting through that locked door. But super obvious. I mean, they're not difficult at all. And but yeah, otherwise, I mean, you can just run right through that game without having to touch or interact with anything. There's a couple of cutscenes, and they are not skippable. So you will have to deal with that, but they're not long anyways. And the cutscenes aren't too bad. But the biggest takeaway from this, again, for a game that was only $7, was I was very, very impressed with the environmental design, the and just the overall flow of it. But yeah, the gameplay did get a little bit repetitive at points, and honestly, the memories, uh, it it felt like a game that they had their heart in the right place, but there was no clear-cut vision on where they wanted to go. And I think if they had a proper budget, I think this game could have really been something special. So this almost felt like a prototype of sorts, but not a bad prototype. Again, I'm not saying this in a bad way because I actually rather liked it. I don't want to say I loved it because I didn't, and I wasn't necessarily having like a lot of fun with it, but I wasn't bored either. And I
Right.
was interested enough to see it all the way through. And thankfully, it wasn't long, so it never overstayed its welcome. And I never really got to a point where I was like, all right, we need to wrap this up or something. And again, with no frustrations or anything like that, everything felt pretty seamless. So there were no hurdles to go over or anything like that. Um, so yeah, I mean, it was just a straight shot through. And again, it's an easy 100%. Also, if you want to get an easy 1,000 gamer score. But again, you will have to interact with everything to do that. But again, if you have 2 hours to spare, it's not bad, but it could be better. The story sort of, it's not cohesive enough to really make sense of everything that's going on. And quite frankly, I was surprised that by the end, looking back on it, it makes more sense. But I mentioned this in my review, where at the end, it sort of like fades to black really quick. And there's this, it's not a spoiler or anything, but there's this note that comes up that's just like, this game is dedicated to all those we've lost and all those currently covering, or something like that. I don't think it was verbatim like that, but it was, along those lines.
Hmm.
And I was thinking, I was like, what the was? I'm sorry, did I just play a game about depression or something like that? Like what? I'm not quite following like what. But then I thought about it, and I was just like, well, I mean, I guess it kind of adds up. But again, the story, again, it wasn't cohesive enough to really put those pieces together and kind of discern that that's what they were trying to, that was the message they were trying to convey, right? So like
Hmm.
it but looking back on it, Mia, like, her memories was very much about, they were very much about just her like being alone, and she's antisocial, and she grew up, and she like always loved science, and she never had friends, and people just sort of chastised her for for being such a, for just being so much in the books rather than being social, and like, oh, you're a weirdo and stuff like that. So maybe she always felt like ostracized, from society and stuff like that. And maybe I started thinking like, well, maybe this was all in her head. Maybe, maybe nothing happened. Maybe there wasn't some big catastrophic event that happened. Maybe this was just how she views the world, where it's empty and it's just her alone. So, but even so, there was a sort of a post-credit scene as well as a post scene after that message as well, and it still didn't clarify much of anything. So again, that note just really threw me off, because by the time the game finished, I had my own sort of idea of what the story was, but that
Got
note
it.
sort of ruined everything. So I was like, well, now I'm not sure what I just played, you know? So um, so yeah, it just seemed odd because it's not like, and I mentioned this in the review too. It's not like The Evil Within or Hellblade or what's the other example that I used? I forgot the third example that I used, but it's not like those games that you know they don't make a clear distinction between certain dream states and mental uh, perspectives, and you know how certain characters see things
Hmm.
and stuff. So this, I just took everything literally, and again, even with the memories that were sort of sprinkled throughout, that gave you a little bit of backstory, and there's like notes sprinkled throughout as well. And I read every single one of them, but again, I mean, how the hell was I supposed to know that this was? I mean, it probably wasn't even about depression. I don't know what the hell it was about, honestly. It just, I don't know, but it just really threw me off. That note threw me off, man. Like at the end, and I was like, man, if that note wasn't there, I probably would have liked this a lot more because again, the environment was really like really well done, and even though the story was kind of whatever, that environment is what really like hooked me in. Because when I see
Hmm.
great environments like that, like it makes me because I'm an explorer. That's what I love exploring in games. So I'm just like, oh man, I look around and everything. And I'm like, oh man, this is really cool. And then when they have little notes hidden here and there, it's like, man, it's that world building and that environmental detail and that environmental storytelling. I love that, man. I live for that, man. It's that lore, that slow burn lore. I love that. I live for that. So, but they had to throw that note at the end that made it seem like some PSA, and I'm like, I, I now I don't know what I just played. But yeah, but there was a third game that I mentioned in the review, and to give a better example to, aside from the Evil Within and Hellblade, but yeah, it's but overall, not a bad game. When the full review goes up, go to thegamerslounge.com to read it and check it out. But again, not a bad game. Again, it's a low budget game. It's $7, but they made the budget work, right? So like it, and I think that's what's most important is like it wasn't one of those yet another one of those like cheap indie horror games or something like that, right? Of just like, oh man, they must have spent $20 on this using Game Maker and like these royalty-free assets that everyone uses,
Right.
right? Like this clearly had time and passion put into it. So yeah, no, I mean it's sold for a modest price. So again, I was at the end of the day, I was more happy than not, but uh, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would yeah, but yeah, when the review goes up, go check it out at thegamerslounge.com and see for yourself. The game just came out to consoles again a couple days ago. I got an Xbox code for it, but the game has been on Steam for about 2 weeks before then. So around the middle of November, and basically, if you were to look or just kind of glance at some of the Steam reviews, you'll more or less get. I think everyone's been pretty truthful to. Uh, I share the same because I was curious. So after I got done writing, I was just like, let me just see what's on Steam review and people who
Right.
have reviewed on everywhere else, whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's basically how I feel. That's basically how I feel. And then there were varying degrees of thumbs ups and thumbs down. I think it's sitting at a mixed right now, which makes again sense. Not great, not bad, um, but yeah, I appreciate what they tried to do with the little that they had, the little resources that they had. They made it count where it was supposed to. So yeah, I mean I respect them for doing that. So, but yeah, that's everything I've been playing.
Cool. All right, Nathaniel. Let's hear about well,
Like, I'm gonna do my list
backwards.
backwards. The
That's
way
what
I
I
listed
figured. I
them.
figured you were going to do it backwards. So.
Work up to the big one.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So, but yeah, I'm interested in hearing about number 2 anyway because I want to. It looks interesting. I want to play it.
Yeah. So I played a bit more Elden Ring in the middle of the few other things I've been playing. I'm just like, I'll jump in for a few hours and make a little bit more progress. So I'm pushing my way through. I'm probably not quite halfway, maybe a little less than halfway.
Mm.
Having finished the game before, it's kind of like, well, I'm guessing, but not like there's a percentage bar you can look at. Like, well, based on how far
Right.
around the map I've gone and how many bosses I've beaten, I don't know. I'm probably like 35 to 50, somewhere in there. Percentage done. Because I've gone to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 major areas of the map now.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot more to say of that other than
Yeah.
like it's still fun. That game is awesome.
Yeah.
If
That's
you, if you like exploring, you should play Elden Ring, even if you didn't like it the first time you tried, Dennis.
cool.
Womp womp
Dude,
womp.
you
Not for
can
me.
play so much of that game without even doing a boss fight. It's
Yeah, you can
ridiculous.
explore
Like,
so
Yeah.
much and just enjoy the open world, and that's what
Well, I
I
thought
did.
the
Ride
world was
that
beautiful.
horse,
Yeah.
run over
and
enemies,
you
take them
haven't.
down.
The crazy thing is, Elden Ring makes a really good first impression when you walk out in there and like, wow, it's really beautiful when you get into that first area, and it's like probably my least favorite area of the game, and it's still great. I love the first
Oh,
opening area.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah, that's that yeah. Like you
there,
said.
like, FromSoft does this a lot, where a lot of the later areas in the game are a lot crazier and more detailed, or just different than where you start out, and it's just like, oh wow, those last areas are really really cool, and I think they do that somewhat on purpose, just to kind of ramp things up as you go, just for your environment. For like when you get to the end, there's some cool stuff waiting for you, so like if you've ever played their games before, that you're like, oh, I'm gonna keep pushing through to see what I find later. It's kind of not anything different with Elden Ring in that respect. It's like, hey, there's really cool areas in the start, but there's some really, really, really cool areas at the end too. So it's not like it runs out of steam, which is a crazy magic trick for how huge Elden Ring is, that it has so much cool things to find in
What
there.
is this, like your 7th playthrough? Now
No,
you're
no, no.
Yeah.
now
I played
same.
it all the way through on Xbox, and now I'm doing my PC playthrough.
Nice, good choice. I think my buddy's on his 3rd playthrough, but he's just done same class over and over. He hasn't started over. He's just like playing as
Yeah.
like the DPS
My
samurai
fingers are
guy.
crossed that in a week we will have news about DLC from the Game
Yeah.
Awards,
How much you think?
because
How much you think it's
Game
gonna
Awards has
cost?
had so much Elden Ring kind of like trailers and stuff in the past. So like if they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
do like DLC for Elden Ring, then that seems like the most likely place we'd hear about it.
How much you
And
think
there's been so many
DLC
rumors
is gonna
from
cost?
people like doing, getting into the files and seeing stuff for like things that are named and things that they've added in patches and whatnot. That's like, oh, DLC's coming, guys. So it's like, it's almost like, okay, we just gotta wait till whenever they're gonna tell us at this point. It's not like, Dark Souls 3, when they had like all of it pretty much mapped out by name or something beforehand, or like, hey, we're going to have like 2 or 3 things over time. Everybody knew that going in. This time it was like, hey, here's Elden Ring. Everyone's like, are you doing DLC? And they haven't said anything.
All
But
right.
everyone's kind of assuming, based on what FromSoft has done in the past and how well Elden Ring has done, and just like a bunch of clues that people are like looking when they're deep diving into every little scrap of information they can find. Like, yes, we think DLC is coming. So I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be right on that as soon as they do it, though. I also tried Pentiment on Game Pass. I
Mm-hmm.
played it on PC though, so I could do kind of point and click controls versus running around with a controller. It would play fine either way though. It's kind of Obsidian. People keep calling it an RPG, and that's not really what it is.
Okay.
Unless you think of it as like you're playing the role of this main character and you have dialogue choices, but you don't have like stats that you're upgrading or anything like that. And
Right.
I've only played a couple hours, and I don't know that I'm going to play anymore because I'm just not sure it's for me. But I think it's cool. Either way,
Looks
like
cool.
you can tell that the people making the game are super obsessed with the period of history that it's set in, which I believe is like 1500s. It's been a while since I played it, so I'm trying to remember exactly, but the art style looks like it's from old manuscripts and stuff, like all
Mm-hmm.
the illustrated art, and it's really, really cool. And all of the dialogue is by like speech bubbles that pop up, and they have different fonts, I think 6 or 7 different fonts in there that different characters use. And it all like has like little writing noises, so it's all like when it gets
Right.
written out. And then you see ink dry. It's a really cool effect
It's
on
kind of
how they
neat.
have all the text go up. And you start out and you're like this resident artist guy who's in this mountain town, and it's in the middle of Europe somewhere. I forget exactly where, because again, it has been a couple weeks since I actually played it, because I played it right around when it came out, and just played a couple of hours. So my memory is getting a little hazy at this point. But you kind of work at this. You work in the church or whatever, the town, and along with like a few old guys, and they're all like, you're doing manuscript stuff for them, but you're also working on your masterpiece when you get time to do it. And then this noble guy comes to town, ends up getting killed, and you're like, oh no, let's try and figure out who did it. And that's about the point that I got into the game of like, hey, this guy died, go figure out, like, go talk to these people, or go here, and then I stopped playing because I was done for the day, and then I just haven't gone back. So
Yeah.
I kind of got through, I guess, the intro of the game, but it's got really cool personality. The art's really nice. It's just kind of like, I don't know, I didn't vibe with just the subject matter enough to go back to it over some of the other things I've been playing. I might eventually get back there, but I just haven't yet.
I want to
But
try
it's
it out.
definitely
It
really
looks
cool.
really cool.
I would, and like they've said, for like Game Pass is the only reason that they were able to make this game,
Yeah.
because it's very, very niche. And if you're into this period of history at all, then that's gonna be your in. If not, like, it's got some cool
Okay.
art and some other things, you might still enjoy it.
I'll put it on my list.
And if you
I
have Game
trust
Pass, it's worth trying for sure.
Well, yeah.
You and I have
Yeah.
similar gaming interests a lot of the time, so.
So yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. I'm just not sure if it was necessarily for me, but I'm glad it exists, and I hope that, like, what I hope comes out of it is like Obsidian and other studios get to have, like, throw a small team and make a little tiny game and throw them out on Game Pass and get
That's kinda
some really cool, like more like what you'd find from indies, even though it's not going to be indie because it'll be the Xbox studios. I hope that they do that because that would be really cool.
Right.
Kind of how like you get the more like cool arty games out of like Ubisoft or EA when they were doing their little programs, like that kind of thing.
Right.
It seems like maybe it kind of similar to one of those where it's like, let's have some of our studios do like a smaller project and do something a little bit more unique. That's pretty much what Pentiment is.
I like that though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth trying to see if it's for you, because like the people who have been seeing, like, who got into it have really gotten into it and really like it. So it didn't quite grab me enough to keep playing it
Is it
right
more of
now.
like more of like an indie adventure game than anything? Because what you're saying about role playing and stuff.
Kind
you
of.
get,
It does
screenshots
play
and-
a lot like an old school point and click adventure as far as like like if you're using the mouse controls, you're clicking to move, and then you can click on some things to interact. There's like there'll be a little icon, you can look at some things, or just mostly it's talking to people. And then when you have dialogue, you have like you pick which dialogue choice you want. And then there's some stuff where there's like keywords, so they'll mention like a specific city or something, and if you click on it, or there's another specific button that's dedicated for doing this, you zoom out of like a book, so it looks like you're on the surface of a book, and it has notes in the margins. So it'll be like, this city was such and has like such and such for trade or whatever, just to give you context for things. Because otherwise you'd be super lost if you didn't know anything about, this time period, because they're not if they didn't have that part to hold your hand and say, hey, this is what this means, then a lot of people would be lost. So that definitely had to have that in there. And sometimes though, it's just like a character name, you'll zoom out and they'll have like their picture, so that when you see them later, you'll recognize them. So it uses that kind of mechanic for, a few different things, but mostly, yeah, it's just clicking through dialogue trees and talking to people and then paying attention. And then later a thing pops up that says like, hey, you didn't convince this person because this, and this. You like there's like certain points or whatever for, like, say you wanted to convince somebody, or somebody was going to do something, agree with you based on how some conversations before went, which you have no idea because it's not signposting it. Like, hey, you were nice to them, you didn't yell at them, so therefore they're more favorable towards you. There's kind of a little bit of that kind of buried into the game. But you don't know it until later, and you're like, oh man, I should have been nicer to that person earlier. Whoops.
Oops.
So I'm assuming that stuff will probably get more and more as the game goes on, and I have no idea how long of a game it is, but I've only played, a little bit of it to this point. So
I want to play it. I just haven't had time to sit down either in front of the Xbox or the PC to play it. Man, I wish there was a dedicated Xbox xCloud, or not xCloud,
yeah, because
Game
it would
Pass
work
app on Steam Deck.
Steam Deck really nicely, because it's just a chill, slow-paced game. You're walking around. It's not like an action game. So
I've almost been tempted just to go ahead and buy it. It's $20. I mean, it's like, What's $20 for a game?
Well, I mean, you could also just try it on really quickly somewhere else, just for the, like 5 or 10 minutes, and then on Game Pass, and then be like, "Yep, I'll go buy it." And
I
that would
could. I
tell you.
need to set xCloud back up again on my Steam Deck,
Yeah.
where I installed that hard drive. It all uninstalled, so I need to reinstall it. I just
You play the first, 10, 15 minutes, you'll get the vibe of it. You won't get all of the, like, everything it's going to do, but you'll at least be like, okay, this is sort of what this game is about.
Yeah.
A little bit. I have also played another thing that is also on Game Pass, although if you buy it, it's like $5, is Vampire Survivors. And that game, it runs really well until you make it not run well.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So it came out, I think, in October, and then I've started hearing about it on some podcasts, and like with the Game of the Year discussions popping up, people saying like, "Oh man, Vampire Survivors has been, like no one's talking about it." I'm like, okay, that's weird, and I look at it, and I was like, "What? This doesn't look like anything." Then I started playing it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I kind of get it. Still not a Game of the Year game, but it's really, really fun." It's kind of like taking a roguelike structure where you go into a level with a character and until you die, and then you can, you've earned some gold so that you can do some unlocks and upgrades, and then you go and do another round. And then they have multiple levels you unlock. So it has that. You unlock multiple characters as you go, but then you also have like a bullet hell game almost, but in reverse, to where you're the one causing the bullet hell. So you start out with, different characters will have a different kind of like starting ability or weapon. And you're not doing a whole lot when you first do it. Pretty much all you're doing in this game is controlling the character moving around and trying to avoid getting touched, because anytime an enemy touches you, you're getting, your health goes away. And if your whole bar goes away, you die. Pretty simple. But when you first start, like, the very first character you have has a whip. So it's like out to the right every so often, every like couple of seconds, it goes whoosh and like whips out to the side. And as you kill things, little gems drop, and they're basically your XP. And when you pick them up, you gain your XP, you get to the next level, and you get to pick an upgrade from a list of usually 3. Unless your luck is high enough, sometimes you get to pick from a list of 4. And like, okay, do I want to get... And it's always going to be like random what choice you get. So you have different things. Some will give you more armor, or some will give you, other things, and you unlock more of these items as you go in roguelike faction. Like, a lot of them like to do this, where you unlock more items as you go. So like, hey, now you have access to this item, it might show up, kind of a deal. So, and then if you get, say, another whip from the list, you pick whip, and now you've got whip level 2, then it'll have a whip going to the left and the right. And then you get, the next level will be like, oh, it causes more base damage on the whip. So what you're kind of doing is you're picking up all these upgrades as you go. If you kill some tough enemies, then they'll drop a treasure chest, and that's another way you can get some of these ability drops. And you're just basically trying to survive as long as you can. And you're probably not going to survive a whole long time, your first few runs, and then you're going to get to me where you're like, hey, I know these things, like, these are the good pickups to get, and there's certain combinations that you get from, like, if you have this upgrade and this upgrade, and then you fully upgrade it, you can transform it into a, like, ultimate version of that thing. So, like, if you have, say, the magic wand and which one is it? It's, I think, one, like a book thing that slows down cooldowns. If you have both of those and you fully upgrade your magic wand to get like a treasure chest pickup that will like transform it into its ultimate form, there's no delay on it. So it's just like firing all the time without any pauses in between. Like the first level of magic wand, there's a few seconds in between every time it pews out like a little thing. And this is all in kind of 16-bit-ish style, simple, like pixel art.
Mm-hmm.
It's not exactly 16-bit, but kind of that's the vibe that you get from it.
Right.
But you have, I think it's 10 total, or no, 12 slots. You have 12 slots and only 6 can be weapons. And then you have the other things that can be like reducing cooldown, giving you more armor, giving you more luck stat, that kind of stuff. And so once you've got all those things and max them all out, and then hey, you're just going through, you'll get gold from your level if you level up. All the levels so far, I don't know if any of the late levels are different, have a 30-minute time limit. So if you get that far, a Grim Reaper comes out and instantly kills you. And you have completed the level. So there's things where I have made the freaking game just like almost choke and die because there's so much stuff on screen with all the upgrades I pick up, because
Yeah.
there's an upgrade that will double the amount of projectiles that you have on its first level and then double it again if you upgrade it. And then I have stuff like things that shooting like little pellet things in 4 diagonal directions, and then I have like a thing going vertically that's like going off every couple of seconds, and I have like a magic wand that shoots randomly and lightning going off on random enemies on screen all the time, and all of them have been upgraded so there's no delay, and so it's just like the frame rate is just like especially when you get to like the start. How the levels work is you go in and you have like a few enemies that are there at start, and they're pretty easy, and as time passes, tougher enemies start coming at you, and it'll have like a few waves where it's just like hordes of enemies are coming at you, and then there's some like other random things or like traps you can trigger that will have more things come at you, that kind of stuff. But there could be so many things on screen, especially by the end. You're just like putting out so much stuff, and then there's so many enemies coming at you, and it's kind of just colliding to where you're just in this little tiny donut safe space at best, where you're trying to just not be overrun, and it's just like it is just chugging because it's trying to calculate so many things at once. Most of the time, though, that's like when you're like way deep into the level and you've done it to yourself by grabbing all those upgrades on things.
Right.
I've only had it like slow down really terribly a couple of times. But yeah, it's a good kind of like podcast game or something if you're kind of half paying attention to each.
Yeah.
Because you're not having to push any buttons. You're just like kind of steering your character around and like picking which upgrades you want as it goes. And like, oh, hey, you earned 2,000 gold on this run. Like, what do you want to buy from the menu? Do you want to buy a new character? Do you want to buy like, hey, a permanent upgrade to health or a permanent upgrade to this stat or that stat? So it's got that nice loop of like, oh, one more run. Oh, let me just try one more time. Let me do one more thing. And like, hey, hours went by. Whoops. It's very much one of those games. And it's I'd say it's bare bones in that it doesn't have a bunch of extra fluff, but there's a ton of stuff to unlock in there so far.
Yeah.
I haven't completed it by far, but I've got like at least a dozen characters unlocked, and I've gotten up to I think 4 of the levels and unlocked a bunch of different things. It has like a bestiary that you fill out as you fight enemies and things. And it keeps track of all of the weapons and upgrades and things that you unlock as you go. So I think this is also a game that was only made by 1 or 2 people as well.
I think so. It was in early access for a while on Steam, and it was like $3 for the longest time. And then when it fully released, it's $5.
Yeah, it's like $5, and then when they had the sale around Thanksgiving, it was back down to like 3 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, it is Steam Deck certified if I remember right, seeing on the Steam page. So it would be a very good Steam Deck game for sure. And it's one that like at most you'll be playing for half an hour on one run.
Yeah.
If you're shorter than that if you are terrible and they all killed you. So yeah, it's just a fun, just like play it kind of a game. You don't have to pay too much attention to it, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
For kind of like the thing it's trying to be, it succeeds very well.
Cool.
Other than that, I'm just playing a small little game called God of War Ragnarok. Nobody's heard of it. Nobody's playing it.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Nobody's like saying anything about it. So you probably
never heard of it.
So I have finished it at this point. I wouldn't have if we'd done a show before now, but I finished it time. Well, maybe if we'd done a show last week. I can't remember exactly when it is. I finished the story. It doesn't have a overall percentage that you can see anywhere that I remember, unless I'm forgetting. But I'm probably like 90% complete, and that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. Probably. I thought about maybe trying to get like the platinum on it, and the stuff I have left, I'm just like, you know what? I don't know that I want to spend all this time on this. What I have left is the annoying crap.
Mm.
So there's have like the first game had the optional Valkyrie fights, and there's something similar in this game where there's like about a dozen or so optional boss fighty things that you can go do. I've attempted several of them and yet to beat any of them. The Valkyries in the first game were tough fights, but they were pretty fair. You could learn their moves, you could upgrade your armor and come back if you needed to, and you could do them with apart from the very, very last one. They're all very doable. The very last one is also doable. It's just like super, super tough on purpose in that game.
Right.
This game, we're gonna have tough bosses that are thriving on using BS to win. Like game design BS. Like, hey, the mechanics of the combat in this game work this way. Let's make it tough because you're having to do things that it's not made to do well. So the one that annoyed me the most is you're in this fight that's an optional boss thingy that has 3 bosses in it, pretty much. 2 of them are ranged. One is throwing ice fireball thingies at you. One's throwing fireballs at you from across the arena. So you have to try and, get up close to hit them. Then the other one is like the main one or whatever. It also is more of like a big giant, melee type of thing that's coming at you, but it's also moves very fast and has a swooping move from across the arena. So you could like get all the way across the arena from it, and it can swoop and close the distance on you with an unblockable hit from one of its moves.
Oh, wow.
And the reason that this is all a bunch of nonsense is because you can't keep track of all 3 of these boss level enemies at once very well, so you're always getting killed from off screen, or at least I was. I tried that one several times. Then there's other ones of these that it's all like just one of them at a time, or there's a couple I think that 2. And I hadn't beat any of these optional things, so I'm like, that's one thing that I have left. Then I have a couple random, kind of collectible things that I missed that would be pretty easy to go find.
So
Just go get it.
long?
So it's kind of like, eh.
How many hours have you spent in it? 20, 25?
No. This game, Ragnarok, is bigger than God of War 2018, and I've spent being very thorough in it about a little over 50 hours.
Oh, wow.
It is not a small game.
Crazy.
If you mainlined 2018, you could probably do it in less than 20 hours. There's no way that you would do this in less than 20 hours, I think.
Wow.
Like, even if you just did the story missions and skipped all the side stuff, which I would say would be a mistake, I still think it would take more than 20. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell since I didn't play it that way. So I don't know. Maybe I haven't looked at like how long to beat or anything to see what people are saying there. But yeah, I spent a lot of time with it.
I was just curious about it. Yeah,
So it's probably, I would say, like God of War 2018. It's about that amount of content and a half, like 1.5 God of War 2018s, or maybe almost double the size. As far as just like amount of stuff that's in it, how long of a game it is. I don't know. I can't really compare because I don't remember how long it took me to do God of War 2018 the first run through. I've played that game 3 times, so I'm very familiar with that one. I can run through it fairly quickly if I had to now, because I just know everything is. I know how to do all the puzzles. So it's like, how long did it take me the first time? I don't know. So God of War Ragnarok is this weird thing where it makes so many improvements over God of War 2018 and is yet not quite as good, in my opinion. And I think part of that is you know what to expect going in on this one, so you don't have the surprise of like, oh wow, this new God of War game is really cool. And it also doesn't have the magical kind of like the same hook that the first game has story-wise that like pulls you all the way through of like, hey, we got to get these ashes to the top of that mountain, and then things just keep getting in our way the whole way through. Yeah, that's boiling it very simply down for kind of what the motivations in the previous game were. This doesn't have that same drive. There's no like, hey, we've got to go do this thing necessarily. It sort of does, but it's not quite as compelling. It's like, oh yeah, like the mother and / wife character has died right before the game, and we've got to take her ashes. That's a very compelling story. This one doesn't have that same hook to it. That said, it has a lot of really, really great character moments in the game that are awesome. It just doesn't have that same like hook from the start. It's a different hook. It's not quite this. It's just a different game.
Right.
So it also doesn't have the same kind of elegant structure that the first one had of like you have the Lake of Nine area that you keep coming back to, and it kind of is like a little bit of a almost like an octopus or something, even though it's not 8 branches, but it's all like this central area that you keep going off of to different ways for the main thing. Then you have your different realms and stuff. It's just structured really, really nicely in the first game. This one is not like that. It's bigger, and you end up going to all 9 realms in this game. Some of them not as much as others,
Hmm.
but they kind of were saying that before we went out. Like, hey, we did all of them this time, guys. We don't have any of them that you don't go to. That's how cool God of War Ragnarok is. I would say I think this is probably a solid 8.5, maybe to a 9 game, where I would still give God of War 2018 a 10 out of 10. And there's still things in 2018 that little things that annoy me that I could nitpick. And there's things like that from that they improved in Ragnarok. It's just one of those. It's like, yeah, it's not quite. It doesn't quite have that same magic, that intangible thing to it in Ragnarok. That it's just not quite the same level, even though it's still an amazing game. It's really, really good. If you like God of War 2018, you will like God of War Ragnarok. There's plenty up here. And I'm sure some people would probably say Ragnarok they like better. That's just for me. I think
Right.
it's just kind of like a weird thing. But like there's a ton of small just like quality of life things they did in this. Like you have shortcut chains in the levels that in the first game Kratos would kick down and immediately jump to start climbing on them.
Yeah.
In this game, he just kicks them, and then if you want to climb, you hit the button again to climb on it. So it doesn't automatically assume, hey, you want to go down there. It's just like, no, I want to kick it down before I go down there when I finish this little thing, right?
Right.
And then they've changed kind of how the armor system works in this game. So the first game was kind of tiered loot. So like early in the game, you're getting like normal armor, and then you can get like blue and green level armor, and then purples and orange, and like wow. So you only have like a few viable sets by the end. Whereas any armor you pick up in this game can be viable because it's all upgrade system based, which you would upgrade armor and stuff in the first game too, but it's different here where like you have like 9 levels of upgrades for every piece of armor that you pick up. So even if you like really like the look of the armor that you get in the very beginning of the game, you can upgrade it and max it out by the end, and it'll still be just as good as anything else you pick up. It'll just have different kind of set bonus on it.
Yeah. See, I like that. I like that.
That's cool. The God of War 2018 had enchantments that you put on your armor. This game just has a thing that you put it on, like an amulet, I think they call it. So like all the enchantments are just in their own spot in the menu. So if you're like changing armor and stuff, it doesn't matter because the enchantments aren't attached to it like they were the previous game. So the previous game you'd have to swap it out and do a bunch of menu stuff. And it wasn't terrible in that game by any means, but it's just a nice little thing that they changed in this game. Like, oh, hey, that's cool. I don't have to worry about, where did I put those enchantments? Because it's all just in one spot. You don't have to look for it in like 5 spots.
That's cool.
I'm trying to think. What else? What was that?
I was just saying that sounds nice. Like I appreciate the quality of life stuff that they've done with that.
Yeah, and that's just like a few examples. They've remixed a little bit of kind of like the moves. So this game you get different shields instead of just having the one. So different abilities are tied to different shields and stuff. You still have some of the stuff that was in the first game, like your runic attacks. You have light and heavy magic, cool runic attacks that you can do. But then they've added some other stuff in there they've made kind of like shield breakers more important in this game. So like a lot of enemies either have like a block that you can break, or they have kind of a special like attack that comes out, and when you see like blue rings, you can interrupt them with bashing with your shield. So they kind of have that to mix the combat up a little bit. And they have some new moves where you can like either like add frost or fire to your weapons as you're doing it by holding the button or tapping the button, and then you like have different moves from that versus kind of just like all the normal moves that you still have from the first game. I'm trying to, like, there's so much stuff that I'd love to talk about this, but it's all spoilers.
So, game of the year for you?
Not my game of the year. No,
It's
not
Elden
even
Ring,
close.
isn't
Well, I mean,
Nailed it.
I spent 50 hours in God of War Ragnarok. I spent over 200 in Elden Ring playing it like on
There
two
we go.
platforms. So for me, there's like, no. Will God of War Ragnarok be Game of the Year for many people? Yes. Like it's that
Yeah.
good. It's that quality for sure. And it'll probably be my number two. Like, I don't know. I haven't sat down to think about it yet, but I don't know. I think the reason that it didn't stick the landing for me as far as the end of the story in this game in the way that I was hoping. Like the first 2/3 of the game story wise is like really great, and the end of the story is good. So it's not like it's bad.
Good.
It's just like, oh, but I wish you'd done that, and you kind of dropped these couple of like little plot thingies, and it's just a little bit messier than the story in the previous game. It doesn't tie things up quite as nicely as that game did.
Mhm.
It's not like it ties it up bad or anything. It's just I'm being very nitpicky because you're comparing it to like a 10 out of 10 game that people are going to be talking about for years and years. It's like this is one of the best games ever made, and then it's the sequel to that, so it has a lot to live up to.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think for the most part that they do it, and I think that like a lot of people will love this game. There's just like me being very nitpicky. I'm like, oh, I wish they'd done this or that. But then there's other parts of the game like, wow, that was amazing. I love that. So
I think one of the coolest things I saw regarding Ragnarok was, and it felt and seemed very Kojima, was there's a part where I think you're fighting Thor. I mean, I don't know, I haven't played Ragnarok myself yet, but I think you're fighting Thor, and like he like just smacks the hell out of Kratos, and like you
Yeah.
technically die, you lose all your health, and it goes to a loading screen. But then he's like, "Oh no, we're not done," and then it cuts you out of that loading screen. He gives him life again. He comes
so
back. I
yeah,
thought
that's
that was
kind of
so cool.
spoilery. So I wasn't gonna talk about it. But like the
Oh, okay.
last game
My
has
bad.
kind of
It
like
was
a
just a
dream.
fight. I don't know.
Well, like the last game has like the secret ending, or well, secret. It's kind of like, hey, you should go back to your house, and if you do, you kind of have this thing where you have
Okay,
like a
yeah.
go to sleep and wake up, and like thunder and lightning comes out, and then you have like outside the house, you see kind of behind Thor's hip, and you see his cloak goes away, and then Mjolnir's there, and then it's like, oh, it was just a dream of the future. What kind of weirdness is this? And then that part happens in this game within the first kind of like hour or two,
Okay.
depending on how quickly or how slowly you go through kind of like the opening bit. The opening 2 or 3 hours of this game is a ridiculously crazy roller coaster ride. So much happens. Like, I mean, so much happens in the whole game too. But they definitely want to pack it all in as much as they can in the first couple of hours. Like, oh, holy crap, that happened. Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh no. Just like hitting you left, right, and center, just like, hey, here's this awesome thing, here's that awesome thing.
Yeah.
All right, now that we've gotten all of the awesome things that you were expecting from this game out of the way, now we're going to surprise you with other awesome things that you had no idea were coming. That's kind of how they do it, because, that secret ending of the last game, you're like, okay, we know Thor's going to come to their house at some point. Let's do it as early in the game as we possibly can. But
Yeah.
put a little bit of a twist in there that you didn't know that this was also going to happen at the same time. And then like, oh hey, this character doesn't like you from the last game because of things that happened, so we're gonna have that we'll pick up that thread within the first like 5 minutes of the game, so that you're not wondering about it. So any of the things you're like, oh, I wonder if this will happen, I can't wait till they get to that, they're kind of getting them either out of the way or just starting them immediately, so that then they can be like, all right, now we're gonna surprise you with all the other cool stuff that's happening.
Yeah. See, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah. And they keep doing that far into the game. Like, they do some weird pacing where they slowly unlock mechanics. So, like, if you're being super thorough and going into side areas a lot and doing some of the side quests, when they start showing up, you could be probably 20, 25 hours in the game before you even unlock the enchantments, like I was talking about, before that mechanic unlocks. Because it's all, some of the stuff like that is all how far you are in the story. So if you start doing the main story and they're like, oh, hey, I want to go do some side stuff for a while, you might not get some of the things till later.
Wow. Yeah.
So like the first part's pretty linear, and then you get to a part in this, in there where it literally is telling you like, hey, over here's that main quest house, we could go there, or we could go to the right and go do these cool side quests we just got told about. Which do you want to do? Yeah, it's such a good game that like all these small things stick out about it too that are like nitpicky. Like sometimes, and it's not all like everywhere throughout the game, but sometimes the NPC characters are way too chatty, especially when there's a puzzle. Sometimes when you didn't even realize there was a puzzle yet until they're like, "Hey, you should go do that thing over there." I'm like, "What thing? I was looking at this thing over here. What are you talking about?" "Oh, hey, cool. I guess there's a puzzle here. Neat." I don't know if they've patched that yet, because that was definitely something that they that was talked about a lot. Like even Penny Arcade did a comic on it. Like,
I
but
saw that. Yeah.
they've had several patches. I just haven't seen if it was in the patch notes or anything at all. Like even without the patches, like day one, that game ran and did really well. So like it's unlike some games,
Yeah.
it's very polished when it came out.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
But yeah, there's like other things about the first game, like if people are nitpicking it, it's like, oh man, we wish there was more enemy variety. So they're like, okay, here you go. Let's put at least 3 or 4 different kinds of times the amount of enemies in this game as far as just types.
Yeah.
There are so many different types. They have pretty much every enemy type from the first game shows up at least, a little bit in this one. And then some. Like there's so many new ones. It's really, really good. And there's some really cool, just like different boss fights. It's not like half of them are trolls like the first game were. There's like the first time you see a troll, it's just in a cutscene and you immediately cut its head off. Like they're saying, no, that's fine. You don't have to fight one yet. We know you guys got tired of fighting trolls in the first game, so we're just going to put it here to kind of like wink at you. But like, never mind.
It's okay. Carry on. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And I mean, the game looks gorgeous on PlayStation 5. Like,
Yeah.
it does not look like a cross-gen game, but that's partly because of just how great God of War 2018 already looked to start with, but
Right.
it looks better than that game even. So like it's such a big game too. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't figure it'd be that big, bigger than.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, it sounds like from Avio's hearing from the game director, they had conversations on whether they were going to finish the Norse, stories or whatever in 2 games or 3, and they decided to do it in 2. But it feels almost like they did it in 2.5.
Right.
Just because of how big this one is, how much that they just packed into it.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I don't know, they leave some things at the end of this one that's kind of like, unlike the first one, you're like, oh, okay, I know that the next game probably will have Ragnarok in it based on how much they've name dropped Ragnarok in the first game. This one, I don't know what they're going to do for the next game, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did kind of like a Lost Legacy sized spin-off game, kind of like Uncharted, because of some things that happened in this story. I was like, oh, I could see them doing that. They might not, but it just seems like a setup where they could if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And at this point, they have enough characters and things that they've set up, and they're like, hey, if we wanted to do a short spin-off game that may or may not have Kratos in it, they could. They could do so many things if they wanted at this point. So I guess we'll find out once, some time passes, since this game's not been out that long.
Right, yeah. I want to settle something in the chat. Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons, yeah. I've always wanted Tim Hortons. I've never
Screw you guys and your Krispy Kreme. Tim Hortons.
Krispy Kreme is trash. They're so bad.
I'll eat Krispy Kreme when they're hot. When they come right out of the thing. I'll eat them hot.
Never had Tim Hortons, so I can't compare it, but Krispy Kremes are trash. They only have one thing that anybody ever really likes, and that's the hot glazed donuts, and they're just like air pockets of sugar.
Pretty much.
I like glazed donuts from other places than there. Like, they're not bad, but it's just like, okay, sure. But if they're not hot, they're not that good. Like, if you get them from like, gas station or grocery store when they're in the prepackaged things, it's like that. No. And then any other kind of donut I've ever had at Krispy Kreme are not good.
No.
Yeah.
Tim Hortons.
Like
the hot donuts are always
they're like super
Duck
sweet.
Donuts.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I bite
Oh,
into
Duck Donuts are good.
Yeah, Duck Donuts is great.
Yeah, I'm a Tim Hortons kind of guy. We got one not too far away, about an hour. So
I've had
they were only in Canada for some reason.
No, you go anywhere in Ohio, you could throw a rock on a corner and hit one. I mean, we've got one in Parkersburg, West Virginia, right up the river. But like, you get up into Cleveland and stuff, they are everywhere. Of course, you might as well be in Canada when you're in Cleveland anyway. So, I mean, It's just right across
You see me soon,
the
John.
lake.
See me
Yeah.
soon.
Come on over. We'll go to Tim Hortons. This first thing you
Sounds
show
good.
up at the door, I'm going to go. Let's hop in the car. We're going to go to Tim Hortons.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Anyway,
What were you gonna say, Eric?
sorry, Nathaniel. Or what were you going to say, Eric? I didn't want to. I couldn't help. I had
hate
to.
you guys so much. No, talk about, so I'm sure you guys have seen the Travel Channel and the specials like on the Food Network. We
Yeah.
in the Pacific Northwest, we have Voodoo Donuts
Right.
in Portland. I've been there a few times. Those
I've heard of
donuts are
that.
interesting. They're pretty heavy. Like
Yeah.
you eat it and you're just like, ugh. But it is an interesting experience. Like, but there's a ton of local donut places around here and
Yeah.
over by my parents. So I'm always interested in trying stuff.
Most of the time,
I've
your
al-
local places are better anyway.
I have never had Tim Hortons donuts. I have had their coffee and like one of their snacks. My friend lives in Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, Canada's only like from Washington State. It's not that far, like 6 or 7 hours.
I'm
East
surprised you
about
guys don't
5.
have Tim Hortons there, honestly.
Yeah, well, what do we have in Washington? We got Starbucks or something.
Oh, well,
Starbucks.
yeah. I
Almost
forgot about
Starbucks.
Starbucks.
Atlanta
Yeah,
Starbucks.
what was I
Yep.
thinking?
Starbucks isn't a donut place.
Yeah.
Silly people.
No, we got Tim Hortons. Like I said, there's one an hour away, and then there's one an hour in each direction. But there's only one in the state of West Virginia, and it's an hour away. So yeah, we're fortunate. But Parkersburg likes to think they're Pittsburgh or Cleveland, so they're really
Yeah,
not,
there's
but-
another place in Portland it's called Lone Star, I think it does, and its donuts are interesting. It's like a I want to say it's like a lightly dusted donut, like a cake donut with a habanero jelly in it, like sweet
Ooh.
habanero jelly, and it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it
But
sounds
they're not
pretty good.
they're all pretty small. They're not super heavy, and I could eat one or two and feel good. Voodoo, I go have
Yeah.
one. Like I
Well,
said,
you
I'm like,
feel bad, yeah.
"Ugh."
I'm sure.
And
Well-
Voodoo's a big tourist thing. It's always
Yeah, I figure
tons of
so.
people.
Everybody's wants to go there
They're always
because it's
like, I
been
want to try
on
the fancy donuts, and I want to
Yeah.
get married here. Nah, some of the other stuff.
the.
A donut ceremony.
Nathaniel, I am so sorry to train wreck your God of War there if you weren't finished with that.
I've gotten all circled around by donuts that I
Yeah.
don't remember exactly where it was. I don't know. There's so many things, both story and mechanics wise, that I'd love to talk about because there's some really, really cool stuff in this game.
Yeah.
But it's heavy spoilers, so I can't.
Yeah, it's too soon. You don't want to. We'll wait 6
I
months.
mean,
or
it's
2 weeks.
one that I probably wouldn't even like discuss necessarily ever. Some of them, just in case someone's gonna play the game, you would really spoil it, even if it's been years. But
Yeah.
yeah, like it's a super cool game. They started out where it feels like, oh, okay, here's more God of War, but then they throw in a bunch of little things and some even bigger things to kind of twist on the formula. Like, okay, here's a slightly different way of doing the same thing, or here's some like completely new things. So it,
Yeah.
like mixes it up a lot as you go, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll play it someday. I've got to finish the first one first. So
One
Yeah,
thing I mentioned,
my buddy just finished the first one. He's jonesing for the second one, but it took him like
Yeah.
2 years to finish the first one.
well, I ended
So-
up buying it on the Steam Deck. I bought it on Steam on sale to play it on the Steam Deck, so I can play it on the go. So maybe I'll play
There we
it.
go.
Actually, be
it'd
able
be
to play
fun on
it.
the Steam Deck, I bet.
Yeah.
Nice thing about this one, another kind of little basic changes. You have the axe and the blades from the start, so they have the blades and some of the environmental kind of navigation stuff. So
Right.
there's some like cliff faces that you use it like a hook shot and just pull yourself up, which is
Yes.
really fun.
That's cool.
And because you have, because you have it pretty much from the start of the game, they can design it that way. So yeah, that's pretty much what
So
I've been
and
playing.
I'm definitely gonna have to play it. I was already very interested, but obviously hearing.
Yeah, play God
on
of
my
War
list.
2018 first.
Yeah, I did. I beat it.
Oh,
So,
did you? Okay.
yeah.
I
Don't
think I tried a couple of
Fantastic.
Valkyries, but then I was like, ooh, yikes! I really want to get like the Infinity Gauntlet you can get. I was looking up how to do that and stuff. I think that's about when I stopped playing it.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Eric. Talk about what you've been playing. So.
Yeah, nothing too exciting. Just a few things. I thought I would have played more, but unfortunately, I was a little bit distracted. There's
Life.
stuff going on. Yeah, life. All right. So what have we been? I've been playing a little bit of Marvel Snap. I got a recommendation on from John, and the Keg Cast is big on that. So I've been playing a little bit of Marvel Snap. It's fun. Good distraction.
What
Probably like,
what collection level are you?
Oh, I knew you were gonna last things.
3.
That's the judging stick. The judging stick is the collection level. So
Terrible level. I actually found a YouTube series that like goes over like deck building, and that helped a little bit. Plus, some people giving me some general advice because I kind of got stuck. I'll look at my deck in a second.
Oh,
Let's
you're
see, a couple other things I've been playing. I've been playing. I've tried Oregon Trail on Nintendo Switch, based on View, one of our other writers did for the site.
Yeah.
I bought it. Probably dumb for me to buy it because the review was, it was like okay. It's not bad. I can
Okay.
see how it would really be benefit. It's a mobile game, hands down. It's made by Gameloft.
Yeah.
So
it was originally on iPhone, so
yeah, porting it to a console, it's okay. It's very slow. It's more. I would say it's slower than the first and the second, the original.
Huh?
Just
Yeah.
like I need a button to speed things up. I don't care about the wagon. I want it to go. Snap my fingers and it go.
I don't care about the wagon.
But it's and it was funny because
That's why he keeps going into those flooded rivers
Yeah.
to destroy it on purpose.
I don't care about the wagon.
I have
We're
dysentery.
walking the whole way, guys.
2 days later,
Who needs a wagon?
2 days later, I broke my leg, and it's not bad. We're like, great, thank you.
Just rub some spit on it. We'll keep going.
But it's okay. I would not. I think it's $30.
Yeah.
I would not recommend it at 30.
It
If
is.
it's down to 15 or 10. Do it. If you're interested in that sort of thing, just.
I put it on my Steam wish list, but I wasn't going to pay $30 for it. There's no way.
Yeah.
It's Oregon Trail, guys. $30. Come on.
Yeah. I'd rather just emulate the
that's
old
ridiculous.
one or play the one. Well, actually, the one on the Wii isn't too bad either. I fire that up. I have that on my modded Wii behind me.
Yeah.
All right, so I've been also playing. I played Mini Doom 2, which is a very random game. It is took Doom 2 and reimagined it as a 2D platformer.
Oh,
Action.
okay.
It's got all the music. Super small download. It works great with the controller. Been playing that on, having a blast. I played way too much of it, but it's definitely got secrets and get the chainsaw and the BFG and do your Doom thing. Let's see what else. Been playing. Another buddy of mine bought Dying Light 2, so I've been playing that a little bit with him, even though he's only maybe a few hours in and I'm halfway through. But he also wanted to try Tiny Tina's, so we fired that up. And that's Borderlands. If you like Borderlands, Tiny Tina is pretty much that, with a more like fantasy theme.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's easy to play. Definitely looter shooter. Scratches that itch for me. Multiplayer stuff. Very very easy to play. It's fun. So you asked about my Marvel Snap level. I am 561 on the collection level.
Oh wow, I'm only 289.
Yeah, I've played a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I was level like 45, but now I'm like level 30 because I lost a ton in a row.
Yeah. I'm only level 21. I just been working on season pass stuff.
Yeah, I finished the season.
Did you do the Wakanda? Did you pay for it or did you?
I did. I paid for it.
Yeah.
So if I finish the season pass, is this like Call of Duty where I can use credits and stuff I get to buy the next season pass for cheap?
No, I don't think so. I think you got to
Okay.
buy them, and it's every month. Every month
Every
there's
month.
a season pass.
Yeah,
there's
that's
a
where it gets you.
season every month for $10.
Cash grab!
That's not what I thought.
Yeah,
Season
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll see. Like, it was fun. I'll probably keep playing it. I don't know if I'll do another season pass. If I really play.
I literally hadn't picked it up in a couple of weeks, and like I picked it up. I played it Thursday night for like 3 hours straight.
Yeah,
and like
my wife
just
was like, "Put down that game." She's like,
wiped out half the season pass just in like 3 hours.
Yeah,
It was like
it's pretty fun.
it was like 4 days before the season ends. Am I really going to buy the season pass? Oh, okay, I'll buy it. It's like, oh well, I'm almost done with the season pass now. It's like I got another day. I can knock it out tonight if I want.
And the last thing I've been tinkering with, I'm a little bit behind for review for the site. We got Brook. They make controllers and gaming accessories. They're best known for making devices that will let you, like your PS3 controller with your P6, things like that. Or use it with your Switch, or using your PS3 controllers with your Dreamcast or Sega Saturn. Anyway, they sent us the Vivid, which is a little controller for the Switch, and let me tell you, the thing's pretty nice. It feels a lot like a 360 or like a small Xbox Series S controller, or like a 360 controller.
Yeah.
comfortable, ergonomic. Yeah, I played 2 or 3 hours of half a dozen games on Switch just to try it out, and I've been pretty happy with it. Comes in a couple different colors. It's easy to use, and there'll be more of the review pretty soon. But I've been pretty impressed so far, and I've reviewed their stuff before, and they make good hardware.
Yeah.
I would recommend it.
It looked really nice. It looked like a quality controller.
I'll try it with my phone. It comes with a little phone clip, so maybe fire it up and see. Play some cloud gaming and see how it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's it. Not too much. We had a lot going on, so I'll try to get. I'll definitely have more stuff this.
Yeah, well, you got down here any Black Friday or Cyber Monday pickups? It's like, yeah, I bought.
I bought Game Pass from CD Keys. Does that count?
Well, I'm still paid up for 2 years on Game Pass. So.
I bought Capcom Fighting Collection and Cowabunga Collection because those were cheap. But other than that, I didn't buy very
I
much.
picked up Sonic Frontier at Walmart because it was $30.
Oh, did you get in on that PS5 controller deal at Walmart?
No, because I already have 2. I don't need 3. I haven't turned my PlayStation 5 on in like 6 months, so I really don't need a third controller.
It had been about a month and a half for me. I was like, oh, great. Wait, how does this work again? How do I exit the games?
Yeah.
How do I power off?
I bought Gotham Knights on Xbox from Best Buy because it was on sale.
I'm interested in that. I think I will get it. I'm just going to probably wait until it's like 25 or so. Or maybe it'll come to Game Pass.
I'm waiting for a good price.
Yeah. I thought 30 was a good price. I think it was 30, so 30 or 35. So I thought, well, it's not going to get any lower than that till after the first of the year. And I really want to play it. So I bought it, and I literally booted it up, watched the opening scene with Batman and Ra's al Ghul playing, and the washer stopped, and then I unloaded the washer, and then went and did something else, and I haven't been back to it yet. So I literally have not played any of the game. I watched the opening cutscene. That was all I've been able to play. And then I kind of bought a bunch of stuff on the Steam sale. I bought the Kenna game, which I have on PlayStation 5, but I wanted it on PC so I could play it on Steam Deck. God of War, Hunt Down, because it looked really cool, and it was like $5.
Yeah, that game's fun. It gets tough.
Yeah, I figured. It seemed like it was one of those Contra-style games that you'll start out real easy, and then you'll get about halfway through it, it'll just start whipping you. So I figured for $5.
It's got some cool secrets and stuff, too, but the boss fights get nasty, too.
Yeah.
I think I'm like 30 or 40% through it. I got on the Switch. It was good.
Yeah. And then I bought Potion Permit. I think, Nathaniel, you had that on your wish list, I think.
That sounds interesting.
That sounds...
I have that one on my Steam wish list. It's one of the ones like you see in the Discover queue or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's cool. I'll bookmark it for later to see if I want to buy it.
It's on sale. Oh, okay, I'll buy it.
Yeah, and that's the way it was with me. It was like, it was on sale for like $10 or something like that. So I picked it up, and I've yet to play it. But it looked like a cool game to play on Steam Deck. So
there you go. I'm a sucker for those,
fantastic.
Action or brawl or anything like that. I'm like, oh, this looks cool.
Well, that's like I bought Midnight Suns on Steam. I found there was a sale on Fanatical with like a 15% off coupon for $60 games or more, and it worked on that. So I bought it for like $50, $45 or something like that. It supposedly runs all right on Steam Deck, so we'll find out. I mean, I've got it downloaded to my PC too, but no, it's not verified. No, they've said that they're going to optimize it for Steam Deck, but not right now. It'll probably take a couple months before they do it. But apparently it's still playable at 30 frames a second on the Steam Deck, and it's like, well, it's a turn-based tactical RPG. You don't need 60 frames a second, so I don't need 4K and 60 frames a second on an 8-inch screen. But I mean, when I'm playing on my PC, I want that because I can.
I want it. Sure. So, and the only other couple things, now I go back a little bit my list. The only other couple things I bought a couple of those Dreamcast Striker controllers. They're from the Brawler guys.
Oh, yeah.
They were on sale. Stone Age Gamer, buy one get one, like 20 or 5% off. Or were they 50? Maybe they were 50% off. I don't know. It's a good deal. I bought one for one, and they're okay. They got decent reviews. People kind of complained about the quality, but I was like, you know what? I'll chance the price.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing I bought was, I forgot about this actually. Cyber Monday, I bought River City Girls 1 and 2 from Play Asia.
Yeah.
And I had a code that made it cheaper.
Oh, that's cool. I like those games.
Me too. I like those games a lot, and I was very angry that they took the first game off of Game Pass. I was like, 2/3 of the way through, and it's $30, or I can pay a little bit more and just get the physical copy.
Yeah, I have it on Switch.
It's good. It's real good.
Yeah, it is really good. I like it. No, I didn't buy too much over Black Friday because it's what you get when you go to Disney the week before. Doesn't spend all that extra cash. So, well, anyway, there wasn't a whole lot of news. Apparently, the FTC is going to maybe do some kind of lawsuit or injunction on the Microsoft Activision merger, and they're all going to have to go to court over it. Maybe. I've heard like financial guys say that they say this all the time and they never do it. So who knows?
The drama, I guess, continues. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
there'll be little random things like this until it either goes through or it doesn't.
I tell you what, this whole EU thing has it's funny to go and read some of that stuff because Sony makes themselves sound like, oh, if we don't have God of War, we're going to be so, hard up for first-person shooters. And then Microsoft is like, well, if we don't buy Activision, we're only in third place, and we just don't have any really good quality studios to make games. So we need... It's like... It's hilarious to read this stuff and go, what are you all talking about? But whatever. It'll end up going through. It's just going to take longer. I mean, whatever. Oh, and I did win a code for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 on Xbox. I downloaded it and thought, all right, I'm going to play this campaign. I'm going to hear all about it. Went to find the campaign, and my God, the menus are just hard to maneuver because they got all the online stuff up top, and you got to go way down to find the campaign. So I finally find the campaign, click on it, it's like, you don't have the campaign installed. I'm like, well, what is this 50 gigs that I've got installed? So then I had to download another 30 or 40 gigs for the game, and I just went, well, I'll play it at some point, let it update.
That's crazy.
Because I thought I was just downloading the campaign and not the online, but it didn't give me the option to do one or the other. It was like, no, because I wouldn't have downloaded the online. So, the list of games coming to Game Pass in December is quite impressive. If you haven't heard about some of the stuff coming out, like Lego Star Wars, that just came out not long ago. Eastward, that Eastward game is awesome. I have that on Steam.
That Eastward game is not as good as John thinks.
Oh, it is very good.
It's definitely a Game Pass game, though. So, like, it's definitely one you can try out there.
Yeah. Try.
I'm excited about Metal Hellsinger coming as well.
Metal Hellsinger.
Yeah, that's December 8th.
Why don't I remember what that is?
I've already.
That is a rhythm shooter game that they have a bunch of metal, actual metal musicians doing the music.
That's right.
Yeah,
I remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been out on PC and other places for a while. It was sometime this year, I think, that came out.
Yeah, I remember that now. I'd forgotten all about that, but yeah, that looked really interesting.
Yeah, that's a good one to come on the Game Pass. Get some more people trying it out.
Yeah,
and now I don't have to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see what else. Hot Wheels Unleashed. That looked really cool. I've got it through PlayStation Plus, but I've never downloaded it. Golly, Hello Neighbor coming to as Series X. That just came out on PC, like I think this week or it comes out this week, something.
Sure.
What else? Dune Spice Wars, that sounds good on PC. I like a good strategy game. I wanted to try that out, but I didn't want to buy it. And the other one that caught my eye, of course, Monster Hunter Rise. Finally coming to
end of January, I think.
Yeah. Finally coming to something other than Switch. So it'll look good.
It's been on PC for a long time. I own it.
Yeah. So
I didn't get very far in it, but I own it.
Yeah.
I got distracted, and then I bought a different Monster Hunter game and played that.
Oh, Monster Stories
too.
Yeah.
I got further in that one, but didn't finish that one either.
Oh, and for all you guys, if you haven't finished Dragon Quest 11 on Game Pass, you might want to finish it. It leaves December 15th. Just a reminder.
If you've just started it, good luck. That's a long game.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I went ahead and I got it. I got a good steal on it maybe about a month, 2 months ago. I want to say 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Ended up getting it for like $10, so I was pretty happy.
Oh
about
wow, yeah. I'm waiting for it to go on sale on Steam. That's where I really want to play it, is on the Steam Deck.
that.
But
Well, the neat thing is if you buy the Xbox version, believe it or not, it's actually a Play Anywhere title. So, I mean, I know you won't work this with the Steam Deck, but like at the very least, if you buy the Xbox version, you get the PC version also.
yeah, if there was an easier way to play Windows games on there without having to install Windows, I would probably do that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Give it a couple of weeks whenever the big Steam sale starts. I'm sure it will be on.
Yeah,
on
it
sale.
wasn't on this time, which I was surprised. I was expecting it to be on
Yeah,
this
but
time.
the November Thanksgiving sale, whatever they call it, doesn't usually get as quite as wide a coverage as the big,
Yeah.
end of year sale does.
Yeah.
So I've seen it on sale. In fact, I bought it on PC back whenever I got it. It was on sale. I didn't pay full price for it, so it's not like it hasn't been discounted on sale at some point. So I would expect it probably will be again.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it will. So, Game Awards is this week. Everybody watching it to win their Steam Deck. Is that what?
Yeah,
I will watch
give
it
me
on
that
Steam
Steam
to try and get a
Deck.
Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Even though they're only giving 150 away, there'll be way more than that watching it.
Yeah.
And I probably won't get one. I'll still try. Why not?
Yeah, why not? I'll watch it through Steam too. Yeah, even though I've got a
as the
Steam Deck, I'll
as
get
the
it.
luckiest one of us here, I definitely
would
gotta
love
get on there.
Yeah, yeah. My wife would like to like a Steam Deck, and I don't want to have to pay for it. So
Ooh, that's a good one. I like it.
So there's that.
Well, I didn't pay for the last one, so I mean, why should I, expect to pay for this one? But so I guess we'll expect the usual. Probably we have a lot of trailers of games coming out sometime next year or the year after next or
Yeah.
3 years from now, and
There'll be a lot of trailers for dumb stuff and a few good ones, and hopefully, like, maybe an Elden Ring DLC or maybe something for, like, say, the new Dragon Age. I would like that, but who knows? Like, I always try and guess what trailers we'll see and never guess right, so it'll be fun.
so of the Game of the Year games, Plague's Tale, Elden Rings, Ragnarok, Forbidden West, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. A lot of people were surprised that Stray was in there. I'm not surprised.
I am.
Really?
But, well, I am and not. It's because this is such a weird year.
Yeah.
So, like, the first three make sense. Horizon, I get maybe just because it's a huge-ass game. I don't think it should be there. And then you got Stray and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is kind of like the odd picks. As far as just comparing with the rest, they're just very kind of different ones. Like, Xenoblade is still a big, huge game, but it's on the Switch, so I don't know. It's because we didn't have as many choices, I think, overall this year that we have this kind of list for Game of the Year.
Yeah.
I think in another year, Stray wouldn't have been here. Xenoblade probably not either, just because I don't know, the main Game of the Year category doesn't get Nintendo games super often unless it's like a Breath of the Wild,
Right,
or
unless
something
it's Zelda or something
or like
that.
or like big Mario title or something, and then it's like, ooh, cool. But then if it's not like a big major Nintendo title, usually it's not going to be in there. So that's why Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I think, might have surprised a few people. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't played it, but, it got good reviews. So
I
cool.
haven't played
It's awesome
it.
that it's
Looks
there.
cool, yeah. I want to play it. It's on my list.
Stray, I don't know. The only reason Stray is there is because it got enough kind of buzz around it before and after it came out. I don't know that it's there because of it being, wow, this is an amazing game that's like the best of the year. It's like, it seems like the reception for it was mostly like it was pretty good. And if you like really like cats, it'll be a little extra good. But even if you don't like cats, it's still a good game. But
Right.
it wasn't like, I don't remember anyone saying like, man, Stray is just like the best game ever. It's the best game of this whole year, man. Like it just doesn't have that kind of vibe.
Yeah, I mean,
that's maybe why some people are surprised. Like, it's there, like, okay, cool, sure. Like, it's not like it doesn't deserve to be there necessarily, but it's also like, Stray ain't gonna win. Like, come on.
No, probably not. I mean, and I liked it. It was a good game. I'm glad to see it's nominated, but yeah, it's not going to win.
And like Horizon Forbidden West is there just because it's a big blockbuster Sony game. But I don't know. Like, it's super pretty. It's probably the prettiest game this year, as far as just like raw graphics goes.
Right.
But I don't know. Plague Tale Requiem also looks really, really good. So does God of War and Elden Ring. But I don't know. Yeah. It's a cool list. They're all games probably worth playing. So
yeah. it will be interesting to see which one comes out. Man, they got a lot of.
It's going to be Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok getting a lot of the categories because they're the ones that are nominated the most often, if I remember. I think God of War has like one or two more. I'd have to total the different categories. Then, of course, you have the stupid esports, etc. things. I'm like, I don't even know these people or anything about it because I don't pay attention to esports. So it's like, oh, vote in this category just because. Why not? On the esports ones, my criteria was who has the best photo that's not just stupid and cringy.
Yeah.
That's how I picked. It's like, hey, you're actually smiling in the photo and looking kind of normal. Cool, you get it. You're not trying to be like cringy or cool or just dumb or not even paying attention or whatever. It's like, all right, you have the most normal photo. I'll pick you. As I could have done it the opposite too. It's like, I don't know. I'm just clicking one of them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because the audience, well, those it might be higher, but for like some of the categories, the audience percentage isn't very high anyway.
Yeah. All right.
Man, some of these categories are super stacked as far as just like, man, I wish they could all win. Like, best music is one of them. Like, Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Metal Hellsinger, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 all are like, yes, very cool music.
All right.
I need to play Metal Hellsinger. Check that out. Sounds like I might like it.
Metal Hellsinger, like the little bit that I played of it, I think I made it more than halfway through, and I loved it, man. The music, especially like if you're a metal fan, is it's just chef's kiss.
All
It's
right,
so good.
I'm in.
It's so good.
What do
It's
we think will win most anticipated game? Because I don't know that there's one that's like a runaway.
Hang on,
hit
I didn't
this
even
time.
look at it. Where's that?
So it's Final Fantasy 16, Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil 4, Starfield, and Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom are the choices in that category.
I'd say it's either going to be Final Fantasy or Zelda.
I don't know what I think it could be almost any one of them because there's enough of a fan base for any of these, and it's not like there's the one runaway like, wow, everybody's gonna vote for that one. It's kind of like, oh, a lot of people will do Zelda, or a lot of people will do Starfield because it's close, or a lot of people do Final Fantasy because they just love all the Final Fantasies, or hey man, Harry Potter's cool, like a lot of people want to click on that, or man, Resident Evil. So it's like none of them are kind of a runaway like, hey, yeah, that will definitely win.
Yeah. Yeah, it could go either way. I don't know.
What do they have? Oh yeah, like the indie ones are decent as well.
Best indie game, Cult of Lamb.
Because they have indie and debut indie, because that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, that best indie that's a tough choice right there. Because I like Tunic, I like Cult of Lamb, and I like Stray. I like all three of those games.
Well, like
Sifu's
Neon White
okay.
and Sifu, like a lot of people love those too.
Yeah,
so it's kind
Sifu
of like,
was
yeah, that's
good.
a good crop of games.
Yeah, it's like that's a hard one. I never played I played all those but Neon White, so that's kind of a hard one to.
Yeah. Man, one thing I wish that they would do, that they would add, is they have best performance, but they need to start adding kind of best supporting performance.
Yeah.
Because there's a character from God of War Ragnarok that's not the two that are put here that I would totally put over both of them if it was in that category. Although, like, I don't know, Christopher Judge is really great as Kratos again. And Sonny, however you say his name, is good as Atreus. But there's another, like, even a couple characters in that game that would be like, yes, please.
Yeah.
I would like to vote for them, but I cannot. And then there's, then there's other games that aren't even, here that had some good performances and stuff. So it's kind of like if they had a supporting category for like, hey, this is a character that's like, in a lot of the game, but not like the main character, maybe they could still be rewarded because, man, like God of War Ragnarok is full of so many good performances. Everybody in that game is awesome. They're so good. Like all of the returning characters from the first game, plus there's several new characters, and they're all great. So it's just like, man, can we just nominate all of them? But then it'd just be God of War everything, and then there's other games that were decent too, that had some good stuff. So it's kind of like, when you narrow it down to only 5 people, there's only so much you could put in.
Yeah, that's hard to do. To do that, to narrow it down that small and Yeah, that's hard. But we'll see. That's
Yeah, we'll find out in a few days.
I was going to
'cause
say,
it's
what is
not
that, Thursday?
Not that far off.
Thursday.
Yep.
Thursday, so.
It's just Thursday.
Yep. Cool. So, anybody got anything else before we call it a show? Nothing?
No,
Nothing at all? Okay.
doing the thing,
Doing the stuff and the thing.
the stuff and the thing.
There's a new Last of Us TV show trailer out that's like the main trailer, and you get to hear the characters talk this time, and it's also still looks good.
Yeah,
so
still
looking
looks
forward
good.
to that in another month and a half or so, whenever that comes
people are
out.
pretty
January.
excited. I am definitely watching.
Yeah, I'll watch it. I mean, you know, I have HBO Max. Why not? You know.
I mean, I think this is it's one of the video game adaptations that makes sense. You're taking a
Right.
cinematic game and then you're like trying to do it seriously. You're picking someone to direct it who has the aesthetic. They've proven that they could do that kind of type of aesthetic before. Then you've got one of the like game creators is involved. And then like the trailers come out like, hey, it looks like Last of Us. It doesn't look like, oh, we're just doing it for the name or anything. It actually looks like they're seriously trying to do that story. So I was like, it makes sense.
Yeah. And
also, if you know, the music choice in this trailer was on purpose.
And I like the story. I don't care for the game, so I'll probably like the show more than I like the game because I like the story. I like the stuff like that. I just didn't care for the game that much. So
I mean, I already knew I would like. Oh man, my brain. When I hate this, it's like I'm trying to think of the specific actor name and I can't because I want to like specifically think of it. But the guy who plays Joel, I already knew I was gonna like him.
Pedro Pascal.
Pascal?
Yes, Pedro Pascal.
The Mandalorian? I mean,
yes, yeah, Mando. Joel, why are you wearing the helmet?
I'm sorry, I just came from the wrong set. Sorry, I'm on the wrong set.
Pedro's just like, oh man,
back here.
I just have to wear a helmet on all of my projects now. So he's just wearing like a motorcycle helmet the whole
I don't
time.
even have to come in and act anymore. I just record the voices over, right? Because the other dude's got a helmet on. You don't know if that's me or not.
But they have in this new trailer, they have a couple bits where you get to hear Ellie and see like what she's gonna kind of sound like and how she's gonna act. And I was like, that feels like Ellie to me. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, it didn't seem odd or out of place. You know, it seemed fine.
I mean, I didn't think that it would, but you don't know, like, is she going to do something completely different? Or
right,
close?
I mean,
it seems like it's going to be a little bit closer to the game Ellie than I would have expected. Or maybe they just specifically picked those clips for the trailer because it is like that.
Yeah, could be. So, yeah, it looks cool. I'll watch it for sure. So, all right. Well, guys, the stream was a little bumpy for the first 40 minutes for some reason. I don't know what that's all about. So we didn't get to give away.
Internet is weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was fine here on Discord, but for some reason the bit rate just started going, and then all of a sudden it just went, and it was fine. It just leveled out. So I don't know. Weird. Yeah, whatever. I pay too much for internet anyway. So we'll have more codes to give away on the stream next time because I figure we'll probably try to do one show in between the week of Christmas and New Year's because nobody wants to do a show on New Year's Eve and nobody wants to do a show on Christmas Eve. But we can probably do one evening sometime during the week of between Christmas and New Year's because I should be off.
Maybe if we're just crazy, we do it in 2 weeks on the 17th. If like life lets us do that, that'd be weird, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, I guess there is. Well, you know what? Yeah. I probably can't because well, we may be able to. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I'll see how it works out.
I'm not expecting it the way like things have been working out for us lately. I was just like,
yeah, that would be weird. I was thinking of where I had to be on the 12th, but that's that's next weekend, not the weekend after. So yeah, maybe. I keep forgetting there's a week in between the 12th and the 24th.
How do numbers work?
I don't know. How the days work? How's time work? I don't know. But because I said something to Nikki tonight. I went, well, we got to do this, and then I got to go work here, and then the next week is Christmas. She's like, no, there's not. There's a week in between that, and I go, oh yeah, there is in there. I just keep thinking my brain is just, and I don't know why, but I keep doing that, and I did it again.
Getting ahead of yourself.
I guess I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, whatever. But yeah, 2 weeks. That's what we're shooting for. Is 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Fingers crossed. Hopefully everything goes well. But yeah, we'll see. So, but like I say, follow us on Twitter at GL_podcast. I try to tweet out early in the day when we're going to record, so you know what time. If you want to come by and hang out. If not, no big deal. You'll catch it on the podcast feeder like you always do. But like I say, if you want to win some Steam codes, I have a crap ton of Steam codes to give away, and I know we gave a few away tonight in the chat. But I still have a crap ton load because, like I was telling you guys, I have a bad habit of buying those mystery bundles from Fanatical that you get like 10 games for $6.99, and this is why I don't gamble, because I'm like, oh yeah, I'll try that. Oh, that game's good. That game's good. That game's good. Oh, I've already got that game. I got that game. I got that game. So I've literally compiled a list of codes with all the games that I've gotten doubles or triples or quadruples of. And I really want to get rid of them because I'm tired of looking at the list on my phone. So, and there's some good ones in there. There's some expensive games in there. So,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, there's a couple $50 games hiding in there. So, hey, you know, it is what it is. So. But all right, like I say, follow us at GO_podcast on Twitter, and you'll know when we go live. So. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody hanging out in the chat with us. And we will see you guys next show.
Take care.
See you later.